Hi and welcome to my garden. For many years I've had a love and leave relationship with my garden where in spring I would get all enthusiastic and go out and weed and plant lots of things. Then over summer I would start losing my enthusiasm and the watering would become such a chore. I didn't want to do it and no one else in my family wanted to do it either. Then winter would come around and the grass would just grow out of control as none of us really enjoyed mowing. So we would just let it go. And often by spring, the grass would be up to our knees. About 3 years ago, we started to analyse how we are living and how we wanted to continue living. We live in the suburbs and don't have a very large backyard, but it was something that we had access to, so we decided to make the most of it. Well, actually, at that time, it wasn't much of a garden. It was mostly just overgrown grass and a couple of garden beds that were not very productive, but it was something that we had. And so one day I was looking through different videos on YouTube, trying to do some research, trying to get some inspiration about what it is that we should do with our yard. And I had the idea, what if we covered our entire backyard with wood mulch? Now, we had grass. It was the type of grass that can find its way into anything and everything. If you started pulling it, it could go on for meters. Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but at least a meter. One day I was at home and I could hear a tree getting mulched. So I went for a bit of a walk down the street and one of my neighbours was getting their tree chopped down, and I asked the guys, look, I'm just wondering, what do you do with all the wood mulch? And they said, well, we sell it or we give it away to nice people. They came around at the end of the day and dumped the contents of their entire truck in my front yard. I was actually really, really excited because I was like, yes, another free resource for my garden. So after many days of digging and moving wheelbarrows worth of mulch from the front yard to the backyard, we had finished our project. When we were setting up a backyard, we used the wood mulch in areas where we didn't want to grow things. Going back to some of the videos on Back to Eden, we have discovered that the wood mulch that we have put down can actually be used as a growing medium. That I actually discovered also accidentally when I noticed that a few months ago there were some radishes and lettuces that have just self-seeded in the wood mulch. Now to me, I thought, how can they grow in these ripped up bits of wood? But what I've noticed is that during the time, which has now been over a year, some of it has started to break down, and where we used to have terrible soil, we now have a layer of growing medium on top of it. I think it's quite amazing, and I would like to show you some of the things that have managed to grow in the wood mulch. I'm used to growing things the traditional way, which is by using soil and growing things in the soil and then putting mulch over it. I usually use sugarcane. But after we covered our backyard with wood mulch, this is what happened. Things just self-seeded in the wood mulch and have started growing or have grown. I wanted to show you another area in our garden. Now over here, we had a pot over the last year. So these wood chips, as you can see, are still quite dry, and they are still quite red in colour. They haven't really broken down. Now if we go and look over here in the centre of the yard, now these wood chips have been exposed to rain, to the elements over the last year. And look at that, if you just remove the very top layer, you can see really black, moist soil. When we discovered how the wood mulch breaks down and how it turns into this beautiful rich soil, we decided that we will start experimenting growing directly in the wood mulch. So stay tuned for our gardening adventures as we continue experimenting with growing things in our garden and trialing different natural methods for growing healthy food.